She's an amazing principal because she's dealing with children who come from below poverty line. And thus, like I was mentioning, it'll be so nice to understand from her where does menstrual hygiene really for that sector stand at. So we welcome you, Mrs. Vas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And the other wonderful lady is so amazing. I mean, I can't believe she's completed 25 years in teaching. That makes me just realize how old we are, because she and I went to the same teachers training college. It's a small world, I must say. But Carmeline, I have seen her work in her school, is loved amongst her staff, her colleagues. But she's also a hot favorite teacher with the students as well at St. Anthony, the senior teacher. She's currently pursuing her doctorate in education, which I think is amazing. Welcome, Caroline and Carmeline, and I'm really looking forward to hear your views on the topic as well today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's start with you today. Let me ask you this question. How do you manage menstrual hygiene with the girls at your school?
Sumira, your voice is breaking.
Ma'am, do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. If you could just repeat the question. The
Repeat.
voice was cracking.
I said, ma'am, could you tell us how do you manage menstrual hygiene with your students in school, the girls, once they start getting their periods? How is it that you manage it in school?
Before the children start, yes. You want me to talk or Kamali?
You first. We'll start with you, then we'll go to Carmeline.
We usually train the children or give them sessions on their menstrual cycle before they really begin. Right, we begin right from the 5th standard, and you know the conditions at home are not so good of these children. So we really have.
Am I the only one who can't hear anything, or have I got frozen? What is it?
No.
Mrs. We cannot hear.
Yeah, we can't hear her. I think her screen is frozen.
No, now she's come back. Ma'am?
Okay.
Yeah. So shall I start again?
Yes,
as you said, our children come from poor homes. So the conditions at home are also not that good. The cleanliness, they don't have a proper washroom, and they stay with bigger families, mostly joint families. So we need to really train them up to give them a lot of sessions on personal hygiene. And that we do right from the start, right from the time the school enters, you know, right from KG, we keep telling them you have to have a bath daily, which is not happening with some of our students. So especially when they go to the 5th and the 6th and all, we give them many sessions on personal hygiene. That's it.
Nice.
On personal cleanliness. And update them on their what changes will be there in their body before they start their periods.
Right. Carmeline, then I come to you and ask you, like, you're in the classroom so much more, you know, and how do the girls take it? Is there a taboo attached to it? Are the boys comfortable talking about it? Is it common knowledge among both sexes to understand that girls will have periods? How does this entire thing happen? We'd like to know that before we move on to the hygiene part of it.
Actually, where I am the class teacher mostly of 5th, 6th and 7th. I deal with these children. So mostly it is like very few you will say are aware of it from the family background. in school we are making them aware, but very few have knowledge about it from the family. Nowadays I'm finding they are more aware, because there was a girl in my class who had her periods for the first time, and she was like, I asked her, because she doesn't have a mother, so I was more worried. So I
Oh.
asked her, do you know what it is? So yes, she was very confident, and she said, yeah, I know what it is. Then I asked her, I said, who explained to you? She said, my aunt at home has explained. I don't have a mother, so my aunt has explained. Then the second question is like, where the boys and the girls are comfortable. I have not found that comfort level as yet. Maybe because the boys, I don't know whether the boys, I don't think the boys are aware much about it, but they have an idea, because I can make out from their expression sometimes when there is a talk or something, that they have an idea, but they are shy to open up and talk openly about the topic.
Mrs. Vaz, I know that personally you're very keen and you keep having these sex education sessions. And I know because we personally held some for you in your school, and I'm sure you've
Yes,
held
yes.
them before as well. You keep talking very often to the children as well. But yet, when it comes to your washrooms in the school, with the given infrastructure, how difficult do you think it is for the girls when they're in the school premises to manage a day when they're or when they're having their periods?
Uh, it's not very difficult because we have got a lady there who's there to help them out. And we've got a wonderful staff who really make the children understand about these things and help them out if there's an emergency or they need some pads and all. They are available in school for them very freely. So children are made comfortable first. That is very important. Our girls need to be made
Absolutely.
comfortable. So then the washroom is okay, and I make the maid go and check the girls if they need any help. Sometimes they stain themselves and all. Then she helps them in washing and all. And we also keep some extra uniforms in the school. In such cases, we give them that extra pair of uniform. So we do help them out like that and try to make them comfortable with whatever infrastructure we have.
Yeah. But are these kids able to afford pads, or do you still have children who cannot afford a simple sanitary pad when they come into school, and do you have to provide it? Or I don't know, I'm just asking you how the situation
Yes.
works.
Actually, as many of our students cannot afford it. So what they are using are the cloth. So then what we did just a year back, just like y'all, one NGO helped us out, who gave us pads were nearly 30,000-40,000. And we provided them with pads for one whole year for all the girls of 8, 9, 10 and 10. And when we know there's a family which cannot afford, we do help them with pads still.
So the
Many
issue of
families
not being
find it
able to afford
expensive.
a basic hygiene is still there.
No, they cannot
That
afford.
we've been discussing. Yeah.
Yes. Many
So
cannot. They
they
don't
tell
have
me that
proper meals.
Yeah. So sanitary napkin then becomes a luxury for them, because if I don't
Luxury
have a
for
meal to
them.
eat, the sanitary napkin is
A
We've been
luxury.
discussing over the past couple of days, and we've been wondering if there is whether the government really needs to change the way it looks at sanitary pads. Whether it should be still considered a luxury item, or it should come into your bare necessity items and still be sold. Like maybe we should turn it around and sell it at a ration rate, where we have
Yeah, correct.
ration cards, and maybe that's how the pads should be
Absolutely.
priced. So Carmela, I'd like to hear your views before I go back to Mrs. Vaz.
I firmly agree with you, Sumira, regarding the pads, because I have seen in our school there are children who really cannot afford. Even a simple sanitary cotton napkin also they cannot afford. So if the government
Right.
does something where they get it at a very, very low price, so that then children coming from the socially backward, or those who are not able to afford, can make use of it, will be able to afford these pads. I agree with it. If
Right.
they if they do something like that, where it is really at a very reasonable rate, which is affordable to everyone.
Right. Right. Mrs. Vaz, it was very interesting where even when we have a teacher's training course and a diploma, whether it's even your B.Ed, a subject like hygiene or menstrual hygiene and how a teacher should actually teach this, or how should they encounter these subjects, are never really taught to teachers, are they? Do you really think that that should be a subject taught to teachers especially?
Yes, yes, it's a wonderful thing that will be to do. We need our teachers to be trained well in this, because they should know for themselves how should girls be educated, especially for any girl it may be, not only from poverty line, but all girls need to be trained on personal hygiene. And
Yeah.
training them when they are becoming teachers or in their B.Ed as a regular subject, will including in that in one of the subject, will be a wonderful idea. Amazing.
Yeah.
That will
Yeah,
be
I think it
really
should
good.
be, no, right? I mean, when
Should
we
be.
were asked to go down to Bishops and Hutchings, and when we did our lessons and stuff like
Training,
that.
Yes.
yeah.
Now, imagine if we had given a lesson on how to encounter a child, what to tell the child. Most of the times, we as teachers are so embarrassed by the entire thing, but it is our
Yeah.
authority and age that we can get away with it. But actually, how many of us are comfortable talking about it? And imagine a
Yeah.
male teacher in the classroom. I'm still yet to find out how that works for them. As in, I know age plays a role, and so we do have authority in the class, but yet, I wish it was taught as a subject.
No, and they should be
I
taught, and they should be give sex education, I feel, should be made a part of the curriculum or the syllabus,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
how to approach the topic.
Yes,
That is
yes, yes,
important, because knowing a lot about sex is good, but how you impart that knowledge and how you make the child comfortable when you are talking about that topic is very important. That approach is needed.
And
absolutely,
along with the
absolutely.
students, even the parents should be educated on the same.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Yeah.
I
We
think
have done, no,
Tuba
madam.
has a question here. Sorry, yes, Cameline, you were saying something.
We last year we had conducted where we have this Mata Palak Sangh, where the mother and the
Yeah.
child, yeah, so that is it's a association in the school. How we have the PTA, we have the Mata Palak Sangh, where the mother and the child, we had given them
Daughter.
a session on the daughter, we had given them a session on sex education.
How nice. But can you come in and ask? Please switch on also when you do that, Tuba.
Yes, yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Good evening.
How are you doing, ma'am?
We are good. How are
Fine,
you?
fine.
I'm doing great, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining the session today. Ma'am,
Welcome.
since Kamleen ma'am mentioned about how you encountered a female student and she surprisingly was aware about menstruation even though she did not have a mother, I think that's great.
Great.
The fact that her aunt explained it to her. But my question is, you see, menstruation as normal and as natural it is not taught the same way, or maybe boys are not aware about it the same way as girls are. So how do you plan to explain it to the boys out there?
I'll just give you one example of my family.
Yes,
I've got
yes,
two
yes.
boys at home, and they belong to the same age group where I'm teaching in class. That is 13, 12 to 15 age group. I deal usually with
Yes.
those children. And my boys are at home in the same manner. So I was very happy because, see, that movie, The Padman, came out. So they know
Yeah.
about Superman, Shaktiman, and Iron Man and all. So this Padman was really, and my elder one is a bit smart. So he Googles and he finds out everything. So he has the basic knowledge. My younger one did not know anything. So, Mama, what is the Padman? So then I started explaining to him. So he's I told him what it is, what happens, the changes that take place in the girl's life, how she starts getting periods and all that. And So that is the thing, like, no, where I want to explain it to my class. As like these are the this is the way like I can explain it to the boys in my class.
Exactly, ma'am. Yes.
So this is the way they have to be made aware. Actually, most of them with the movie and all, I feel like from the reactions in my class, and I feel they are aware, but only like it's a big taboo topic for most of them, so they don't want to open up.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
ma'am. That's
it's a
true.
taboo, and I don't know why. Because it's as natural as breathing and eating. It's as good as getting a cuisine off the counter. I still don't understand the taboo attached to periods and sex education and all of that. So yeah, a good question, Tuba. Does it answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. Definitely that
Thank you
does.
so much, Tuba. I think Ketal has another question. Ketal, you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. Hi, ma'am. Hi, Mrs. Vaz. Hi,
Hi,
Tanveen.
hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us today. It is wonderful. This is my first time interacting with the both of you, and I must say, it's an honor. It's really an honor with the kind of work both of you are doing. It's very impressive. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I just wanted to, I have a couple of questions. One, obviously, about menstrual hygiene, but before that, um, the extending to what Tuba was telling you and the way you explained to your boys, which is wonderful. I have a boy too, and being in this country in US, he was born and brought up here, so I think it was easier for me to explain it to him, because in school, like in fifth standard itself, they had a joint session with boys and girls explaining to them what periods are, what menstrual cycle is about, everything around that, along with sex education. So they had two sessions back to back explaining it to them. They did not go into too many details, but they did tell them overall what it was about. So when my son came home, I explained it to him in a way comparing it to his puberty also, that there will be changes in your body and these are the changes in a woman's body. So both have uh, kind of, they both have changes. They are different, but they both have changes. So just like a woman doesn't feel embarrassed seeing your voice change or you having a beard and mustache suddenly, you shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed or be uncomfortable around the fact that a woman has her periods. And extending that further, I also explained to him that you need to understand, when a girl has periods in your class or in your gym class or wherever, in school, you need to understand that she's going through a lot of changes. She might have cramps, pains and everything. So you have to show empathy, not laugh, not point, not do such things. Those things also need to be explained to boys. Would you agree
Correct.
with that?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Sure.
So that was one part of my part of what I wanted to discuss. The second thing is what Sumira and I were talking in our live chat just a couple of days ago when we started this, is about hygiene around the use of pads. So supplying pads is one thing to the girls, which I think you're doing a wonderful job. The second part of it is, how it is used, that it is disposable, that depending on the flow, that you're not supposed to use it for more than few hours, that if you see the heavy flow, you're supposed to dispose it. That's one part. And second part is how you're supposed to dispose it off. So these are the two things that I was Sumira and I
Yes, I
both
think
had
that's a good
discussions
question
about
to
that.
ask. Like,
Yeah.
do we touch on these topics when we are talking to them in school?
Yes, we
Mrs.
do, because we have had problems in school, like the washrooms getting clogged and all. And when we opened up, we found a number of pads there. So we had to call the girls separately, all those getting their periods and all, and talk to them and make them use the bins to dispose of their pads properly. That is what we had, one or two sessions with them regarding that then. And we did it on a quiet way so that no one else is aware of it.
Right. So coming back to that, the disposal part, we also had another session with the red. There are kids in there is an iGen group here which talks about red dot. So they have a red dot kind of campaign where these pads, when you're disposing them, there is a red dot which you put on them, because so that the workers, you know, these cleanliness sanitation workers who have to actually take care of, you know, segregating that from the rest of the garbage, it's easier for them. When they open it, they know exactly what's in there. So that's something that we want to like kind of promote while you're taking, encourage, promote, and make students in your school, the girls, understand that this is the right way to do it.
Sure, we'll do it. We'll keep different plastic bag, not plastic bag, paper bags or something. And we will ask them to put a dot on it, and we'll see that is disposed of properly then.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
wonderful.
it's much more.
Yeah, that'd be great actually.
We are
That's
open
wonderful.
to suggestions,
Thank you.
and it will be an eye opener to all of us also.
Yes, because from what we heard from this iGen group, they are doing a wonderful job. They are trying to understand genetically how this, you know, when you dispose the pad, what happens to it and how it affects the environment. So when you put a red dot on it, it really helps the sanitation workers a lot. Their job is a lot more harder than we actually even can imagine.
Exactly.
Yes. Because they have to handle different kinds of garbage.
Yes, in fact, we'll be having an NGO that will be coming in tomorrow, and there is a very enterprising lady called Fari, and she was talking about how the garbage cleaners actually need to pick up our blood, you know. So we don't realize it. We think hygiene ends at you know, disposing our pads and as changing it at regular times, but that is just the first. The second phase begins when someone needs to collect it and actually dispose it off. So it will be interesting to hear her views on it. But then that brings me to my next question also, Mrs. Raz. If given an opportunity, what would be an ideal washroom for girls in a school like yours? You know, what would be an ideal washroom for you?
It should be comfortable for them, and it should be a little bigger than what we have. And it should have like how tissue papers and all that provided for them, so that they are more hygienic then. Maybe now we need to put in all the washrooms, even sanitizers and hand wash and all that.
Soap.
So, and
soap
proper
and water.
disposable bins.
Yeah, water is there plenty.
No, soap and water is very essential because, like, you know, we have Mrs. Renu Sane, who had these videos about explaining everybody about menstrual hygiene. She did mention that even before you wear a pad, you have to wash your hands with soap and water. And after you are done, you should also be washing your hands with soap and water. So having soap is very essential. Obviously, running water at all times is important too.
We'll see, we'll make arrangements for that now. It won't be a big deal to keep
just trying to understand. So what is it that probably that would help your situation, help the girls in your school, you know?
And how we can help as an NGO.
Yes, and how we can help as an NGO or ask other NGOs to come down and help. But that's where we're trying to understand your current situation. I think the taboo also for girls is I was discussing the other day is carrying a pad. So your packet of the pad, which comes with a cover inside, is more expensive than the ones that come without the cover. So then when I need to carry my pad to the washroom, I need to carry a paper cover with it, right, to be able to dispose it. So after I've used it, so when I'm going to the washroom, I'm not just carrying one sleek pad with me, which already comes in a pocket cover or something. I'm actually carrying a pad and I'm carrying a piece of paper, and which I think is very easily visible, you know, to everybody around. So maybe that is also, do you think there are girls who wouldn't be changing their pads throughout the day because they're shy to do it, because they don't want to do it and they don't want to see people, you know, carrying, they don't want anyone watching them go to the washroom with all of this? Carmeline, you think any of these situations are possible?
Yes, very much possible, because I have not recently, but many years ago, I remember the 6th and 7th standard girls, in those days our washrooms were very small and not very comfortable as they are now. So they used to really be very hesitant to even go to the washroom, and they used to first, I remember seeing girls removing the pad from the bag and stuffing it in the pocket so that it is not visible. But as times have changed, I find nowadays that they are more comfortable with it. But I feel your suggestion was good. Like if we already keep papers or brown paper or newspaper with a red dot marked on it in the washroom itself.
Yeah.
So what will happen
Yeah.
is they only carry a pad and the paper is provided with the dot. Then they can dispose it off easily from there. So that
Right.
extra wrapping of the paper will not be needed. So that what will
Right.
happen, we can maintain a bin, separate bin where the
Yes.
sanitary pads are disposed.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. Also, since we know that your children come from that kind of background, maybe if we could provide you with sanitary napkins enough for a year, or we could, refill them every 6 months, maybe you could have like a dedicated cupboard over there or a space
We
in the
have.
washroom. So there is, oh, you do. So great.
No,
So that
not
means
in
all
the
these-
washroom.
We
We don't have it
got it.
in the room next to the
Staff
washroom.
room.
There is a cupboard.
Okay.
So, because that, as madam already mentioned to you, that NGO had supplied us for the whole year. So we did not
Okay.
give the children for the whole year at one time. We gave it to them like for a month or two, and then again we used to give it to them.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it, madam?
Yeah, we gave them in bits because
Bits.
we opened them and gave because we didn't
Hmm.
want them to misuse them.
Oh yeah, that's another problem, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
pass it on to others. We wanted them to use it for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. But that brings me back to the question, Carmeline, when you said that there was this one child who was aware, what periods are and what is she supposed to do. But like I was speaking to Mrs. Vaz last time, or in fact the first time we met her, and we said we'd like to work with you, when she mentioned that 60% of the children in the school come from single parents. Yeah.
Yes.
And we also have male single parents in the school, if I'm right, Mrs. Vaz.
Yes.
Correct,
So,
correct.
What about these children? I understand. The one-off thing is pretty understandable. What about the others? They aren't getting that support at home. They're probably coming from very disturbed families. So hygiene is never ever discussed out over there, So what could we expect from the government, or what could we expect from NGOs who come down? What is that extra mile that you feel that will make the difference?
14 जन ही है इधर तो दिख नहीं रहा उड़द
Actually, we had an NGO. Hello. We had an NGO who, like for as teachers, we try to go visiting homes. Like for example, if there is a troubled child, we know like the child is disturbed, we can visit. But see, as a teacher, it is not possible for me to visit 64 homes, or even for example 10 homes. It's quite difficult. Personally, what I feel, I tried visiting, but it is not possible. So if these NGOs, with the permission of the school, can go to their homes, visit them, find out their condition, and help them besides academics in any other way. That is my personal opinion. So they get we'll say first-hand information of what is the condition.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Mrs. Vaz, you were saying something.
I said our teachers do try to reach out in the best way possible to these children, but we cannot give 100% where the home atmosphere is concerned. So we need help from the elders in their house, or the parents, or someone whom we can talk and we can tell them how to help out our girls,
Right, right.
And some of the parents are not open to all these things. When we had a session with the 5th, 6th standard, one parent came and said, you are not to have these sessions for my daughter. She will not attend it. So it becomes difficult at times to talk to them.
Yeah,
also.
I think that's also true, because when we were growing up, how many of our households actually spoke about forget menstrual hygiene? I don't remember from a very, very aggressive family as much as was, I don't, so my family could have been a very different case, but I don't remember my cousins or my uncles or aunts ever speaking to their children about menstrual hygiene, you know, which is
Correct.
so important because there are so many diseases that can be caused because of unhygienic conditions during your
एक
menstrual.
मिनट मैं वो ना मैं क्या कर रही हूँ
Yeah, so somebody's audio was on, I think. So yeah, I think it's been a taboo for very, very long, and we need to break that taboo. I think Urvesh has been waiting very long to ask a question, so I'm going to let you do that now.
I think along with the mothers, we need to give a talk to the fathers also.
I think so,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
I don't know why it is such a taboo, because if the parents didn't have to be there, the world would just come to an end. So where is the taboo at the end of the day, you know?
You can call the fathers as well.
I think next time, Mrs. Vaz, once you reopen school after the pandemic, that's the first thing we should be heading up to.
Sure, we'll do it. Anything for our girls.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Urvesh,
Yes. Urvesh, go ahead.
Hi, man. How are you all?
Good. How
Yeah,
are you?
good, Urvesh.
So, ma'am, my question was I'm not sure if this is going to come out slightly controversial or not, but I just wanted to put it out there. While we were talking about educating the male students, I was also thinking, what if we could educate the male teachers as well? Because I know, so I have studied in a co-ed school, and in the standards 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know that when we boys start to get the knowledge of this, there are some boys who they make fun and all that, and then sometimes it gets awkward for the girl, and sometimes the female teacher might not be comfortable talking to the male student, but maybe the male teacher can definitely talk it out with the male students, because I'm sure the male teachers have more of an impact with the male students. So what is your take on this? What would you all say?
We've got male teachers in the school, and they're always ready to talk to the boys about it. In fact, even with the girls, they're free to talk about this topic, and they come and tell me this girl is having this problem, or they even talk to the boys when they have problems. So nowadays, the male teachers are also open to this talks. I don't think they shy away from this talk. So maybe giving a session to them also how to deal with the boys in the class will be a good idea.
Right.
Actually, as madam said, our male teachers are very dynamic and they are open and they are free. Samira will also tell you when they were open and they're ready to speak about the topic. So we are lucky to have such male teachers in our school.
That is very nice.
But I think that's a valid point, like that brings us back to the same point that when we are training our teachers, this needs to be a subject that the teachers need to be trained on,
Correct.
How to handle students, how to approach students, how to manage it, how to manage bullying, taboo, because everybody comes from a very, very different background. So it cannot be the same for everyone. One household is different from the other. Now, this girl that Carmeline was speaking about came from the same background but had a very nice aunt who spoke